The discus thrower is one of the most famous of the Greek statues, especially of the classical period. And what we're actually seeing is a Roman copy of the bronze Greek original. Now, something to keep in mind. The bronze was probably lost to history. It broke down, it oxidized, it rusted, or it was melted down, or it was broken up. Bronze is far more fragile. The reason we're looking at a Roman copy is the Romans were obsessed with Greek statuary, and so they would frequently commission copies of Greek statues. And so we see numerous copies, Roman copies of the Greek originals, even though the Greek original is lost. And so I want to make very clear that that's what's going on. Now, when we're looking at these heavy marble copies, what you will see is odd supports. For example, we have, in this example, a stump and the hand is attached to the calf. The stump is there to take the weight of the body because obviously the marble is going to be far heavier than the original bronze, which wouldn't need such support. Same with the hand. So when you see that in Greek statuary of this period, remember the original was bronze. It didn't need that. So we are seeing some alterations. That being said, what we are looking at is a depiction of a discus thrower. And a discus thrower, here's a discus thrower at this point right there, at the back of the backswing, when he is fully wound up and prepared to release all of that energy into the discus. What we see is a piece that is created by intersecting arcs. And this gives the idea of potential energy to the Greeks. An arch is all about potential energy. Think about it, a bow and arrow would be a great example, something they would have been familiar with. As you pull that bow back, it bends further and further. It is a visual metaphor for that idea of potential energy, which is exactly what we see because he's in the back of his backswing. His body is fully tensed and ready to throw that discus. The twist in the body also gives us the idea of tension, like a coiled spring. The action is frozen in motion. The artist is trying to capture the moment that best describes exactly what's going on and gets across the potential energy that is about to be thrown into the discus. The figure, however, has this face that isn't really realistic. It seems to be contemplating the quantum realm or ideas of Hawking's radiation rather than preparing to throw a discus. And this is part of what's called the severe style. This is really common. They're still using deadpan faces because they haven't mastered that depiction of emotion yet. That will come later. In reality, of course, a discus thrower might look something more like this with that horrible face. I mean, I know I ran high school track and the faces we made running around, they were ugly, I will tell you. So he's not responding to the physicality such an activity would suggest. Here we see two more Roman copies. But what we have is this depiction of athleticism. It's going to act like Insta Snapchat book and the media today, encouraging the men of Athens or the men of different city-states to look like this, to go work out because they are part of the military. You want them to be strong for that hand-to-hand combat. And at the same time, as I said before, a depiction of the strength of the people. Sort of encouraging people not to go and invade because, our people look like this. Do you really want to fight this? You also see from these two depictions some variations that we see in these Roman copies. The one on the left, probably a little bit closer to the Greek original. The one on the right, showing more detail in the fold across the abdomen, in the movements, definitely in the hair, showing some of that artistic development that happens over time because of course, these copies are being made for nearly 1,000 years after the original.